July 9th, 1949 was a beautiful summer day in Seattle, perfect for just this sort of event.
It's opening day at Seattle-Tacoma International Airport.
The future had arrived in the Pacific Northwest.
The soaring control tower, the airy glass-walled concourses, was hailed as America's most advanced airport terminal.
My biggest memory is that it was really hot. And when you think about it, acres of concrete absorbing all that heat, no shade anywhere.
30,000 people were there for the fanfare. Days shy of her 4th birthday, Kathy Mills Rosini remembers the ride for the big day.
I remember my sister in the car. I think we were being brats. And so my parents were probably at their wits' end. And Cheryl said, "We're going to find an airplane." And so I thought, this is really cool. Had no idea what an airplane was.
That's little Kathy on the right with her family at SeaTac 75 years ago.
Got here and no, we were not going to fly in an airport, but we got a Coca-Cola. It was a day out. It was a trip, but I had no concept. Airport. What's an airport?
Rosini grew up with aviation. Her father was a World War II pilot, her uncle an executive with United Airlines, and her grandfather started Star Air Service, which later became Alaska Airlines.
The airport represented modern flights. It was a big deal to fly. That's why everybody dressed up. Men wore suits and the women wore hats and gloves.
As traveling became more popular by the early 50s, 4 airlines served 1,500 passengers a day. Inside the terminal, travelers enjoyed fine dining, a barber shop, even a Santa Claus. In baggage claim, your luggage was handed to you.
What I really love is getting on the plane, and then they taxi, and then they start out, and then they go, and I just love that.
The runways looked a little different then too. Originally, the airport had 4 crosswind runways shaped like an X, designed for airplanes taking off and landing in almost any wind direction. As airplanes were built to better handle crosswinds, the X runways were eliminated and the north-south runway was lengthened. A few decades later, a 3rd runway was added, which is what we have today.
We used to walk in the door or walk on the plane. That was it. You might show your ticket. I think they figured, you know what? If they've got this far, they have a ticket.
In the early 60s, Seattle was on the global stage hosting the 1962 World's Fair. Many celebrities touched down at SeaTac at the time, from astronaut John Glenn and Walt Disney to British Royal Prince Philip, President Kennedy and Vice President Lyndon B. Johnson, and Elvis Presley. But the start of the 70s meant major cuts for Boeing. The region's largest employer went from 100,000 employees in 1967 to about 38,000 in 1971.
When I first came here, you got to remember there was a big sign out by the freeway out here, a big light bulb, and said, "Well, the last person out of Seattle turn off the light," after Boeing had let everybody go.
That's Oris Dunham, now 84 years old. He was the airport director in the 70s and navigated the airport through a memorable and turbulent decade.
Well, truly, I saw the movie Airport. I didn't know there was an airport director until I saw Burt Lancaster be an airport director. And so I started looking around. I was selling flight control systems to airlines.
Young Oris convinced the managers at SeaTac to hire him as an unpaid trainee. He worked his way up to airport director.
For the first 6 months, I'd spend a week washing cars. Another week I'd work in the flight kitchen. Another week I'd be with loading cargo or baggage. I got to see what the airport did, which was really good. And then I started working through the different parts of the Port of Seattle airport operation. And so I got a better education than anybody ever going to get to run an airport, because you saw it all.
In November of 1971, Dunham was in his early 30s and working the night D.B. Cooper hijacked a plane traveling from Portland, Oregon to Seattle, demanding a large ransom.
5 minutes after he took off, he unlocked the back door. Nobody knew you could unlock the back door in the air. He did.
Cooper parachuted out of the aircraft with the money near the Columbia River. Some of the cash was later found, but he was never caught or identified. It remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in U.S. history.
Your only concern is the public. How do you keep the public safe?
The public saw major changes at the airport during the 70s. The expansion was the largest undertaking during that decade as air traffic hit just over 5 million passengers. Dunham says it was a non-stop construction site.
We built 2 satellite terminals, we second leveled the roadway, and built the parking garage. Almost every week we changed the way people drove, walked, or the airplanes taxied for 2 years.
The subway trains we now use to get to the satellite terminals were added in the 70s. The driverless automatic shuttle trains were the first of its kind in the country. Dunham says by the early 80s, the airport was running like a well-oiled machine.
Every day is a new day, and that's one thing about working in an airport. You're never bored.
Dunham went on to serve as airport director in Los Angeles, where he ended up full circle with the actor who inspired him to take on this job.
And he said he'd wanted to meet somebody who his movie had made their career. And now I have the picture at home. Keep them flying, Oris.
Much has changed in 75 years. Today, Sea-Tac, or SEA as it's referred to now, has grown to serve just over 50 million passengers in 2023. 39 airlines now serve 93 domestic and 33 international destinations.
Maybe it's what it represents. It represents traveling or business or family coming in or you going out. Now it's an everyday part of life.
Sometimes the best part is knowing no matter how far you go, you still get to come back.
Oh, I'm gonna cry. I never really thought about it. There is a real emotional attachment. You land at Sea-Tac, there's that feeling of coming home.
Watch City Stream Tuesday nights at 7 on the Seattle Channel, or find us anytime online at seattle.gov.